space where we discuss, debate, and find solutions to some of the most pressing challenges in the community of architects, and those in construction, engineers, and designers included. We're thrilled to officially launch the ARCOS Saath Mentorship Program, and I'm going to tell you more about it as we go along. This is supported by Emphasis F1 Foundation and, of course, executed by Ethos Foundation. An initiative designed to guide and support young architects and designers as they navigate the complexities of sustainability in architecture. Through these mentorship sessions, we aim to foster meaningful collaborations between emerging talent and experienced mentors, bridging the gap between knowledge and the real-world impact. I'll just take a 2-minute break, 30-second break, actually. Give me a minute, please. Sorry about that. One of our guests is just texting me and I had to get there. I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to dear friends and extremely senior and experienced architects, Chitra Vishwanath and Sanjay Prakash. I'm also happy that Mr. Sumit Chauhan, who's head of the CSR function at Emphasis Foundation, will be joining us shortly. He's just landed from a flight and he will be joining us on this momentous occasion as we begin this journey for the mentorship program. Your presence truly underscores the importance of mentorship in shaping the future of sustainable architecture. And, we're going to learn more about what it means really to be sustainable holistically. And we truly appreciate your support. I'm also grateful to all the colleges that are broadcasting this. And I'm really delighted to see that some of the mentees have joined in today. I'm just going to share screens. Sonam, I think Sumit is joining any minute. So
yes.
Yeah, just keep tab of that, please. I suppose you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm glad that this is being launched by two stalwarts of, so sorry about that, two stalwarts of this sector amongst, who really understand the true import and meaning of sustainability and have, they kind of walk the talk when it comes to sustainability in their own lives as well. So I'm grateful to both Sanjay and Chitra for joining us on this journey. I like I always say, I think it's our collective cause and our responsibility, and that's the play on the word our cause, which is this vertical under Ethos Foundation that this whole initiative comes under. There are 6 action areas of Ethos, as many of you already know. Shrama being the one that we work with construction workers. Bodh, where we look at traditional wisdom. Udita, where we are looking at universal design. Swades, where we are looking at taking design literacy to people outside our field. And I think that's crucial for this, for actually a true difference to be made. You have to speak to people outside our community. We are looking at access to design being other affordable designer right. And the initiative Saath, where currently we are talking about sustainability in action and thought. The 2 initiatives under Saath, which is the Design and Build program, Design and Build grants particularly focus on water, which aligns perfectly with the intent of Emphasis F1 Foundation, largely focusing also on water. I mean, it is something that we've been talking about, that by 2025 we are going to have serious water issues, and we're already seeing some of that happening. We have 18% of the world's population living in India, and just 4% of its freshwater resources available to us. And how do you how do you work with that is a critical challenge that we have. And as part of the construction industry, I think we have a responsibility because we consume 12% of the global fresh water. I don't mean India, but overall, and use 30% of the global raw materials, as well as generate 10 to 30% landfill waste. So this was the scenario under which the entries were called for under the design and build grants. And this whole project was put together where we've identified 5 grantees who are going to actually execute projects. And you'll be happy to know that some of them are colleges of architecture who will actually use this project to also teach and learn. We also have the mentorship program where we've got requests from these mentors to be, kind of guided on certain specific aspects of sustainability. And that's the journey we are really kicking off today. The grantees are receiving, for the DNB grants, are receiving between 70,000 to a lakh of rupees, which is not really too much when you look at the larger problem, but this could be a seed to, kind of bring about larger change. It could be that block from which they can leap forward to do much more. The jury for this initiative was Vishwanath. I mean, no project on water today in India can be spoken without Vishwanath being linked to it, because I think he's really built a terrific body of work, and he's the founder director of Biome Environmental Solutions. I think Coolant and Studio Coolant architect Monish Siripurapu was the second juror. And I think I wouldn't call them jury really. It was an interview panel. It was a conversation that we had with the applicants to understand their intent, their ability, and to execute the project. And Monish is, of course, and his studio is known for their quirky innovations in the field of sustainability. And I think that's the need of the hour, to understand how we did things and how we can do things today. Also, Sumit who's the head of CSR and Emphasis F1 Foundation, joined the panel. Is he here yet, Sona?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to hand this over to Sumit to let us, to congratulate the 5 awardees as far as the grantees go, and say a few words. Sumit, over to you. Yeah, I think you want to start speaking. I'll let you know if we can hear you clearly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Geeta, for the opportunity, and thank you for your entire team. We're truly honored, and we're very excited to see the entire result right in front of us. And the moment has come to see our, grant award winners here. And Geeta, do I need to take their names? How do I announce it?
If you want to, or I can take them through as well after you say a few words. So we have the design and build grantees, as well as the 7 mentees.
All right. I think, Geeta, you should do it. And I will just say that, I was part of the jury round, and, our expertise is doing social work. Our expertise is doing corporate social responsibility. And I would use that perspective to, bring some sort of encouragement to all the award winners and all the participants largely. This is just not about the few people who have cracked it, and, you see them right in front of you. But I think it's the entire ecosystem that we're interested in. Some of you who are now the torchbearers of what you've done, what you won, and what a lot of people acknowledge. But without saying and without, watering down the effort of everybody, all the participants who've been, part of this journey, I think each one of you is very important. And even so, what's more important is that the people that you'll be impacting now. You are part of an ecosystem which has to be sustainable. It's an open secret that communities are going to grow. Urbanization is rapidly happening now in India, and I think given this whole backdrop of how climate resilience is important and it's much needed right now, I think you guys play a very important role into building the future cities, which are more sustainable, which are more economical, more eco-friendly, more affordable in all aspects. I think the quality of life that you will help design and bring it will matter most and will help planet Earth. So with these words, I'll conclude my encouragement to you, and wish you all the very best, and to all the future leaders, that are here, winning these awards and getting these accolades. You truly deserve it, and all the very best, guys.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you for that warmth, and thanks to Emphasis F1 Foundation for supporting this. I'm sure these awardees, these selections, actually, I wouldn't even call them awardees. Like you said, there are so many ideas out there, and it just happens that these ideas got selected. I'm sure they're going to do us proud and are going to execute that project, and we'll come back to you sometime in April with the proof of the pudding. Thank you so much. Uh,
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All the very best.
Thanks. So I'll just quickly, since Sumit left that to me to talk about the 5 grantees, I'm really happy that Ajay Naik, Amit Tiwari, and Maithili Kaushik Shetty, and I think they're a fabulous team together, are going to be working on a rainwater harvesting project through Project Eco Mitra. We have Harshita Sharma and Vineet Sharma looking at an agroforestry project, which is also going to be interesting. We have Elankumaran, who's working on streets to silos, where he's looking at how technology can help communities save and reuse water. We have, for the first time, we're actually supporting a team from a fashion design college, which is looking at a sustainable textile. Meghna and Jayalakshmi are working on that from Voxen. And we have D.Y. Patil School of Architecture taking up a rainwater harvesting project, and they will be mentored by Ajay Nayak again to execute that. Coming to the mentorship for architectural practices, I'm just quickly going to take you through the selection and tell you what we are doing through this program so that we can kick off. We had Tanuja Kanvinde, I think she's here today. I'm not sure if she joined us, and Mr. Raman from GBCI India, along with Sumit, who kind of helped us identify the mentees. And this is going to be the mentorship, the panel that's going to mentor, starting with today's speakers at the SNS Approach Towards Sustainability talk. We're going to take these mentees. So let me just quickly take you through the mentees list. We have four of them who have been awarded full mentorship. 369 AUKUS Studio from Bangalore. Collective Overlap also happens to be from Bangalore. Insane Labs has got a project in Coimbatore, but they belong, they come from Tamil Nadu, Chennai. Shri Abodes is, I think, a Coimbatore-based initiative. It's strange that most of them turned out to be South-based. And she's working on an old age home. Mantis specifically sought support on water management in a project in Pune. And Studio Kolam is Konkan, looking at the Konkan region and as a residence. And Humanscape is Gaurav Chaudia working at a project in Maharashtra as well. So we're starting with the introductory session, after which there will be one-on-one design crits by the mentors list by 5 mentors, one per mentee really, that we've requested, and they've kindly agreed to give them that time. Then we have a session on rating systems on 15th February, which is open to all. So even the colleges that are present today, we'd love to have you join us. And if I was to look at this slide, it kind of tells you Tanuja, Mr. Raman, and Abhishek, who are going to be talking on the rating systems. Then we have special sessions by mentors over a period of time, where Mr. Gopal, Varsha Gawandi, Prashant Dupare, Mr. Gopal will be talking on, I'll have to go back to this slide really, where we have special sessions. Sonam, we don't have the details, right?
Permaculture it is.
Yeah, Mr. Gopal will be talking on permaculture, of course. Varsha is the one-on-one mentor for the Pune project, where they're going to be talking on water management. Prashant is going to be talking on materials and training construction workers to handle local materials. Parul, of course, it goes without saying that she will be guiding Shriya boards and will be talking on universal design. Mayank is going to be talking again on materials and technology, and Sanjay Patil will be doing a larger session on residential design. We will be sharing the calendar with all the colleges shortly. 15th February, we have the rating system session, and then we have special sessions between 17th and actually, I would say first week of March. That brings us to what we are here for today. I'd like to introduce my two friends who are going to be speaking. Chitra Vishwanath is currently the Principal Architect and Managing Director of Biome Environmental Solutions. She's been involved in a whole lot of projects encompassing construction of buildings of all sizes. It goes beyond just the building, and it talks about its relation to the environment and the ecology. With earth as a basic material input, I mean, most of her buildings are with stabilized mud blocks, and she really walks the talk. So she was awarded as one of the judges for the Design Awards in 2023 as well. That's welcoming Chitra. A quick word about architect Sanjay Prakash as well, an architect with a commitment to energy-conscious architecture, eco-friendly design, looks at people's participation in planning closely, and that's something that really resonates a lot with me. He also is into music and production design. He's integrated all his work with practice of new urbanism and sustainability in his professional and personal life. Principal consultant of Shift, and was a partner at DAAT and Studio Plus firms that earlier to his current firm. So I'm going to welcome Sanjay, if he's already here, to take center stage just now. We will follow this up with an interactive session where after Chitra and Sanjay finish is when we will open it up for conversation. And I wish, this session is going to be really inciting the curiosity of all the students and the mentees who have gathered here. So all the best to all of you to learn. And over to you, Sanjay.
Sanjay Prakash just left. I think there is a connectivity issue. Maybe.
Chitra, if you're ready, you'd like to take the stage first.
Was the first one. Okay, yeah, I'm ready. So, and I must say I have my colleagues here, some young architects and interns at the office. And I'm sharing which one? This one, and the first one. Yes. Yeah.
How many colleges have we got today, Sonam, just for interest? Sonam, Ankita, whoever's been working on it.
11.
11. Super. So 11 colleges are actually beaming this live as we speak. That's terrific. Yes, all yours, Chitra.
Yeah, so we call ourselves an urban ecological practice. We don't use the term sustainable, and we can have a discussion on it sometime else because we should be doing this fast. Yeah. So this is how it started by oneself. One had a kid. When the kid was small, one was at the site all the time. And so it was a proprietorship firm, like most of you are, most of the mentees are, alone with their own name. So the name was Chitra Vishwanath Architects. But we were really working in the beginning, following Laurie Baker's ethos, because when I came down to South, Laurie Baker was known in the middle class too. And the reason was that the land was cheap at that time, whereas the construction cost was higher. So let's say if land was 100 rupees a square foot, construction cost will be 200 to 300 rupees a square foot. So the input needed from architects was that reduce the construction cost. And so we were just working all the time, developing again contextual details. We didn't just copy. We didn't do this, what was called at that time as Baker architecture, because we were working in Bangalore. Context was very important because we can't have jalis in Bangalore. It's a diurnal variation, so it will be very cold in the night. Then the mosquitoes and various other contextual, the climatic conditions, one of them that we couldn't really follow everything Baker used as a design principle, but Baker's ethos of frugality was always worked. But this also added a huge learning for us, and it has become our ethos that we always would look at the cost of construction too, while we are designing something which is ecological, sustainable. So it started, so you have, this is a classroom done sometime in 1990s or 91 for a spastic. It was just a temporary classroom under a bus shelter. It was never meant to last long, but 30 years hence, it still is there. They love it. And they have replaced the GI sheet and thatch with a mangrove tile. So it puts paid to the fact that, if you do a nice design, as simple as possible too, it can last a long time. So this is just 4.5 inches walls because we wanted to save on the cost of foundation. And we had to do this in 15 days. So the walls are curved, so they're strong enough to take up the shelves inside as well as take up the height. And then have fun too. So these were most of the homes. So you use the rat trap bond, but then fill up the joint, the space in between to make this red and white checkerboard, like what we see mostly in Kerala architecture, but more of getting skylights within because that's how the light comes. Filler slab, well, the tiles were replaced with waste, what was available here. So all the time we are also looking at waste in the building process as well as whether the building can be a waste sink. Arches replace beams, as much of arches, as less of concrete, as less of steel, the design. Onto this is a water tank. So again, done sometimes in 1990s, and then we go and look at it in 2022, it's still there. So this is for a farm, a tank below for the garden, for the agriculture purpose, a tank above to provide for a little building which is on the side, solar panels at that time itself, which were working to lift up the water so that you get by gravity into the building which is next door. I just love the drawing, handmade drawings. And there was no generator, so we couldn't have done anything with the railings. At that time, there was no railing, and even now they haven't added the railing to the staircase. So Sanssouci is our home, which we built in 1995. That's one of the first building we did with earth and earth sourced from the site. And it became what we call a lab of ideas because we did a lot of experimentation. What here we'd like to bring forth is that, as such, concrete, exposed brick, plaster surfaces, you had something to refer to as good architecture, as something which is available, you learn from it. But when we started, we didn't have. We had, in fact, a very bad example with Karnataka Housing Board having done a huge housing with earth blocks which had all collapsed. And that's because of bad details, which is very much to do with the architecture of it, but also corruption in terms of having enough density of the blocks, having enough stabilization, etc. So people in Bangalore were not takers. They didn't want to build with earth. So it became imperative that we build our own home with earth. And we had also noticed that it was not enough to build with earth which you source from the foundation, because we've been working with rat bond and bricks, but we also are looking at foundations and stuff, and we're seeing how much earth comes. So we decided we will do a basement. That's one of the first basement I had ever designed. And also looked at the basement as a permaculture of solutions, that while it is an extra space which you're getting and it's giving you earth to build with, it also becomes a space which is cool throughout the year, throughout the day. That's our basement. Doesn't have the best of light, and also I would say sometimes the ventilation. And we combined it with mezzanine, so the sleeping spaces for cool nights. But in 2008, we decided to call ourselves, we moved from being a proprietary firm to a private limited. And so people who were there at that time for a long time working with us, and they are shareholders in the office. And since we were working by 2008, both a lot on water, and in all our designs, water and sanitation was an integral part of the design, decided no longer should we be calling ourselves by somebody's name. And Biome fits the bill in terms of the name of it. And the practice is rooted in Bangalore and its contingencies. So yeah, it is much better in terms of weather-wise, but there are lots of challenges, and those challenges are our opportunities of design. So it revolves around these three contingencies: resources to build with, water, and sanitation. And how did this come about? Resources to build with, okay, you've checked it by making a basement and getting the earth, or somehow or other get the earth and you build with that, because Bangalore soil is extremely amenable to building with earth because it has less clay. So we would never now build with bricks. Bricks require a lot more energy to make compared to this, which is made by people at the site. But as Bangalore developed at the outskirts where electricity would reach, but water and sanitation was a problem. And then again, Bangalore's rainfall pattern, which we studied while we were doing our house, is great for rainwater harvesting. The next part comes is, how do I treat the waste? Bangaloreans want a garden, and how do you get water for the garden? And further studies and learning was, you can even provide nutrients. So then it was, in our minds, was that this should become a mainstream, because most of our homes were not some rich person's farmhouse, which would be used for maybe 2 months in a year, but they were within the city. A plot size of 30 by 40, 30 by 50, 15 by 40, such plot sizes. So we were always interested that let's mainstream it. So it required that we mainstream, we decide on what kind of resources we need, the construction systems, learning much from Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore about the construction, and then design for water and sanitation. So the resources these are the three resources we're looking at. So you all largely know us that when we build with earth, we work with a lot of waste too, but we've also built concrete, with laterite, but very few. Maybe we've done about 1,000 projects, so maybe 2 are all concrete, and maybe 3 are all laterite. Okay. So contextual application, where what is right. So basically that nothing is wrong, but how do you use a certain material at a certain context? So I'll have some of the examples of it. So let's look at, when you're looking at earth as material, for us it's either a basement, or in larger projects, look at the water reservoirs. So basements are like this. Here in Bangalore, we use stone, granite stone with stabilized mortar. Stabilized mortar is again mortar which has a bit of cement, which is basically earth and quarry dust, and about between 5 to 8% of cement. These are so much better than near cement and sand mortar, because it retains the moisture. So the curing required is less, and the cement gains strength slowly and in a better way and doesn't get honeycombs. So this is the kind of soil which we get in Bangalore. I'm always looking at it. Wherever we go, we're looking at soil. What is it like? What is the characteristic of it? It's mixed with quarry dust, and the percentage of cement decided by how big is the building. Pressed at the side, human labor, and oilite comes out, cured in the sun, and that's it to make the walls. And then the whole building itself being looked up as an ecosystem. So basement became better. They started having skylights and even a garden, a well in this case. So better air, better light, and more earth. And they get used for many different purposes. One of it is like I have about 3 projects where they are dance studios. So in this school in Coimbatore, it's what I call is mother of all basements. So the school itself goes down by 1.5 meters. You see it in this. So there's a road here you can see on the left, and even the playground is 1.5 meters below. So the bylaws do not allow for making basements in a school. So why not make the ground itself as a underground, so the classrooms don't become underground, don't become basements. And we get a lot of earth then, build the whole school of about 18,000 square feet, the compound walls, even for the next phase blocks were available. And mind you, it doesn't take too long because you make the blocks, there are parallel processes happening. The blocks are being made while the foundation is on. And in this case, we also used precast system of roofing. So the roof is also being made while the walls are coming up. And this whole school of 20,000 square feet was finished in 8 months. And with lots of fun spaces inside. Again, with respect to the climate, the inside is also a play space. So they're not merely passages, they're more than passages. Classrooms designed for light, which is so it's above, and children sit on the floor, so air passing over the body. So jalis below. In a larger project, which was about 3 lakh square feet of construction, in 80 acres of land, it was not only that we have to build. While in this 80 acres earlier, there were about 35 to 40 people staying. I think, yeah, with the students, when they come to the school, about 300, this would accommodate 3,000, and now it accommodates 3,000 people every weekend. So how do you now design the whole master plan? And where do you get water? How do you store water? Where do you get material? All that was looked up before we started construction. And where do we build? Because even building to be done at places where you will not spend too much on foundation. So we did a hydrogeological study and made ponds, and they became the resource. They became the quarries for the soil to be used. So that's about 100 feet by 100 feet pond, which is in fact a recharge structure. So the rainwater, which is coming down from the hills, comes to the pond and it recharges the ground. And through the hydrogeological mapping, we had also noticed where we could get the discharge, and we have a well there from where water is collected and used for all drinking, cooking purposes. This is the building. This is a picture taken after 11 years. This is near Mumbai, a place called Palghar. Composite climate. It rains about between 3 to 4,000 mm in 3 months. So the design had to really take care of the walls. And then it's hot. It goes up to 45 degrees centigrade. The winters are moderate, going down to maybe 8 degrees. Everything had to be accounted for. So we created these rooms which will have a terrace, which are roofed, which are used for the daytime usages. So this is for ISKCON, so bhajan, meeting with any of the saints, all that happen at the terraces. And you don't use even the fan during the daytime. Now this becomes designed by law. Even when they are trying to design by themselves, they never put a terrace. They went for a terrace and realized that the rains, you cannot manage the rains with a terrace. So it's best that you cover the terrace. So now every building they do is in this manner. So you get an extra space for use. And they make more ponds. And they are building now with themselves, so they make adobes, and this has become a learning center for colleges nearby to come and see this kind of construction methods, and also living, because here there is also, we treat the wastewater for agriculture purposes, rainwater harvesting, all that. Various engineering colleges and architecture institutes go here to learn. So with earth, there's no limit. You could, because these are really nice small elements, and you could craft spaces, walls and domes. Enjoy making. So it's no longer boring, flat, white, concrete roofs or walls. But if you have a smaller site, and there is no other empty site, but this is within the city, this is rammed earth. So you bring a little amount of soil, ram every day. You bring soil just enough for a week, use it, and then again bring it. It takes longer, but it's the right one because you're not going to be buying blocks. Now in Bangalore, there are vendors who are selling blocks. So you can make earth buildings by purchasing blocks, which doesn't sit with us comfortably because you don't know where they're getting the soil from, where they're digging up, and even the quality of blocks. And then they're using machines to make the blocks. So there is an embodied energy, there is fossil fuel going into making of those blocks, which is what we were avoiding which is what we avoid when we make the buildings at the site. More ways of building cob here. But as the city is growing, you would continue seeing the waste, which happens because you're changing the buildings. The bylaws are changing, the FSI is changing, so you break the old building. How do we now see the waste within our design itself? So one is that it's a waste sink. Again, following Baker, anything lighter than concrete, you could use as a filler. So this is using waste of the Silicon Valley of India, or using stone, like I showed you earlier. Or here in this project in Bhopal, in order to cover the southwest corner of the building, we used, so this is shading the southwest corner of the building because that's where we are storing paper. We're using railway louvers. So when we started the project 7 years earlier, when we went to the Kabadiwala, we had aluminium louvers. We were thrilled that this is how we will be using it, and everything was designed to be used in this corner. But by the time we finished the project, there were only fiberglass louvers available. So I said, nothing, no problem, we use that. So it's also interesting, every project you learn, you never now get metal as waste in any project. It's always recycled. So now this shading device has become a home also. So it's becoming part of the ecosystem itself. The building on the right, it was an 80-year-old structure within the city, in the middle of the city in Jayanagar. Horrible structure, not enough light or ventilation. There was, people are staying in it because the owner was emotionally involved with it, but otherwise it was not a great structure. So we brought it down, built with the same materials. We brought down the building, we got stone, we used stone from the foundation, we used it for walls. We built earth structures. So how it happened was, it was a smaller structure, so the foundation was load bearing, but now we wanted 3 homes and larger, better, with courtyards in between, so they were also taller. So when we started digging, we found that there was water in the site and we were getting sand out of it. So we changed the foundation to something called well foundation. So the wells were dug throughout the site. The construction debris was put inside it and a grate being put. And the construction is like this. So we didn't cut any trees. We didn't throw any debris out of the site. Luckily, the site was large, but nothing went out. And the building is much better lit and ventilated. And we saved the money. We worked this within time limitation and budget. So here is Radhika and Manoj looking at a wall made with debris from their old house. So debris mixed with earth, this wall is being made, and that's how it looks in their living room. Forgot to put how it looks in the whole slide. In the whole urban context. But now, so here we're using materials. We're using waste materials to be part of the building. But how do we make a building which will not be a waste of the future, but it will be a quarry of the future? So this project, Atelier, the school, which was, in fact, when they came to us, they had the land only for 5 years as lease. So we decided, we discussed with them and told them that we should make a building which you can take apart and none of it will be wasted. So here it is. To retain the earth within the plinth, we've used what we get in Bangalore as stone chapri, so it retains it. External facade is made of glass, wood, aluminium, and earth blocks. Internally, everything is MS structures. It's a false ceiling of bamboo and roofing of GI. Everything can be taken apart and reused completely, including the flooring, which is paver blocks on corridors. So you can even remove the flooring. So nothing gets wasted in this whole building when the use is over. It's about 20 years now, they're still using the building. So whenever lease expires. So to go further with the idea of waste, we used repurposed rubber wood for all the furniture and some of the other wooden shelvings and staircase, but the rest of it was paper. Paper as divisions for walls, paper for furniture. So the waste is not merely the building's waste. When we occupy, we generate waste. And I think we really love to look at this aspect in our designs. And so we have the, what do you call, the glory of having designed a WC pan for Indians. And this is in use in Kosi villages in Bihar, where Kosi floods a lot and you need a toilet which is not sitting in the ground and which is not throwing its waste into the ground, so that will be in the water. So now in Bihar and Jharkhand, they call this toilet Faideman Shauchalay. That means it is a profitable toilet. So this is what we do. We just separate the waste which is coming from human beings and use it for fertilizer and as soil. This is a project, the clients call it Eco House. And so this is for a professor from Stockholm Environmental Institute and director of Karnataka Pollution Control Board. So the whole idea is that how do we close the loop? So the blue column which you're seeing are various kinds of toilets and kitchen where black, gray water will be produced. So the whole drawing and the interaction with the client was on how are we going to put all the various pipes and the other systems. He was bringing some systems from Sweden too. So it starts with rainwater harvesting, and where it goes into the underground tank and then goes to the recharge well. Then you look at how do you treat the grey water, various systems for that. Then the grey and black water collection, there's mulch. And the whole of it is now covered with green, growing food within the place. But we had an underground and we got the earth from there for the construction of the building, and the basement is used as an office. So contextually, we're agile. So this is in Coorg. The locals know how to build with laterite. First of all, getting the soil is difficult. Making the blocks will be very difficult because you have to have a flat land. And this was part of the building which was existing. We broke it down and we got some of the laterite blocks from there and then added. And so it's built with laterite, but has the courtyard so as to allow for light and ventilation well within. Or this is in steep lands in Kunur. It is impossible to think of building with earth. Tamil Nadu doesn't even allow you to transport earth from one place to another. Again, with almost 35, 40 degree slopes, it was difficult to have land available, flat land available to make earth blocks or store. So it was easier to build with concrete. But then how do you design that it's not just merely a concrete block? And what we had to work most was how do we reduce digging into the soil, because that will contribute to landslides. So in the building at the bottom is a foundation plus a sump tank. So it collects all the water which would be falling on this building is collected within its own footprint. So now it's not adding to the runoff into the ground. So even though it's concrete, it's catching its water, so it's not adding. And that's used for gardening. You have a pipe which is connected for the dry days. And that, from the structure of the sump tank, the building cantilevers out. And even more interesting is the sump tank is at the floor level. You can see it here. It's at this level. This opens up, and that's where the pipe here brings the rainwater down. The roof is sloped in such a manner that all the rainwater comes through this and goes into the sump tank. And you keep the interiors to bare minimum. You show the concrete as it is. It's a beautiful interior done by Kavita Kohli of K2 from Delhi. You manage the water in the land to creating places. What happens when you have to build in just a very hot area? This is near Humphrey in Torangallu, school for JSW. The air quality is not very good because this school is next to the steel plant. So what we decided, my colleague Sharad decided, was that we'll take better quality air from higher levels. So we have vents, created stack effects, and so you have both inward and outward going air through these stacks. They're not as tall as ideally they should be, but our colleagues designed it in such a way that they will work. We painted them black. On top, we really wanted everything, the exhaust to be black, but the colors the school chose are different. So I love to show it in black and white so that you can see that that's how it should be. Now we have better quality air and cooler air within. And this is interspersed with lots of small shaded courtyards. Further, it's also important that we make drawings right. So this is again a plot in Tadoba, which used to get flooded. The idea was to raise up the buildings and the pathways where we're going to build, but not allow the water to go and flood the neighboring fields. So we have to embrace the water. We created a large pond where all the water in the rainy season comes there. We got the earth to build, and we are not adding to the woes of the neighboring plots. But make drawings in a way that anybody can read and build. Because we're not always working with highly trained contractors. We're working with locals. So it's important that the drawings speak. This is the resort, the water body. And that's how it's built inside with adobe and stone. The roof is with Guna tiles from Center for Science and Villages. So also in India, there are lots of small institutes which have been working for a long time on different ideas, and it's nice to collaborate and work with them. But what is the construction system? One thing is to just be at the site and learn and also train. So this is an exchange. And research again at the site and find out what are the different materials possible. So like in Bhopal, where it's black cotton soil, get the soil tested, go to various places, and then we found somebody who's making fly ash blocks that he was ready to make. Earth, fly ash, sand, and cement combined blocks. So you have to do a lot of research, a lot of legwork is required. How do you make sites drawings that it's possible to execute at the site without you being there? And we've been developing software. We do our own estimates because these are the construction systems which were not there earlier. So we don't have CPWD or PWD rates. And then we, like I said earlier, we really like to keep control on costs. So monitoring is essential. So the office has between 2 to 3 quantity surveyors working in the office, or also we link to them. This is pictures at Govardhan Eco Village in Palghar, where we used earth for everything, including the roofing panels, because we had so much earth. And this is an earthquake-prone region, so creating even sill bands, being at the site, working with the devotees as well as with workers, training them. But also we took for the first building a team from Bangalore. So because the idea was that the first building has to be very good. People should like it and they should be building more and learning from it. So this is Shield. We did a project in Nigeria. We don't know how it's finished or anything, but he was there for about a year where he studied the soil. He also appointed masons, interviewed, trained masons, and now Jimmy, the contractor, is building a lot of buildings, mostly go downs with earth blocks. So he's bought about 5 machines from India. You have to really do the drawings well, where you know exactly that. When you do the 19th course, that's where the lintel has to come. So it doesn't move here and there. You give them, and that's it. You do a good drawing, the masons are able to follow through. And sometimes when it's just a small addition, this is in Madhya Pradesh, this is an addition of a room in a homestay. This is Madhya Pradesh Tourism Board's initiative for tourism, that you would have a nice room and a toilet and urban dwellers can stay with the villagers. You make the drawings in the local language. Till now we've done mostly drawings in Devanagari, because we haven't had the chance of in other places that they needed Tamil or Malayalam. Here it is. And so we have worked out through rate analysis rates. The quantification is done in the office, and through the project, there is always monitoring. The bills happen, and we get to know where it's going up or down. We've also made our own software where we are able to calculate what is the capacity of treated water, which we should make, the capacity of the tank. So you put in the lat long of the place, how many people, etc., etc. So it gives you the optimum storage capacity. So you don't just build something, out of your mind, but it is always worked out. Contextual details of treating the grey water. This is part of the terrace design, that grey water will be treated on the terrace. We make our own ferrocement tanks to put the planted filter bed, because our sites are small. So this treatment cannot happen on the ground. And terrace is a place where we get the maximum sun, and so it's the best place to grow and treat wastewater, because the plants need the sun and good air. So we call this a smart roof, where everything needed for you to function within the house is taken care on your terrace. You treat your wastewater through the grey water treatment. You have an eco-sand toilet, so you get fertilizer and you grow your rice or vegetables. You get your soil as well as your fertilizer. You collect drinking water, which we call lifeline water, from the cleanest of the rooms. And obviously, it would have everything to do with solar, whether solar photovoltaic, solar cooking, or solar water heating. We call this a smart roof. That's the rice growing on the terrace, rice being harvested. This is how a terrace is properly designed in the office. And we hope our cities would become ecosystems and not villains. So that's the office now, from 1 to 30 odd. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chitra. That was quite revealing, I think, for many who haven't really seen this space of ecological design, and who are kind of finding their way around. It's interesting. It took me back in time where you were talking about Guna tiles and talking about local technology that needs to be also looked at by many. I mean, Guna is just one example you gave. There are so many that people could integrate into their ways of building. We'll talk more on a lot of questions that I have, and I'm sure others will have as well. I think we should move on directly to listening to Sanjay Prakash. I'm sure others are waiting to listen to, and then we'll come into the interaction shortly after. So Sanjay, over to you. I had already introduced you before we got Chitra on.
Okay, I'm so sorry that I was waylaid by the fact that our IT manager has not yet arrived. But anyway, I hope to make up.
That's fine. You can share screens now and do it, or you want our team to help you with the presentation?
No, I will share screen.
Right.
Sharing is not turned on, it says.
Team, please help out.
Please, yes, go ahead.
Okay, it's finally turned on. इसको full screen कर दो. So you can hear me, I assume.
Yeah, loud and clear, Sanjay. About 35 minutes of your presentation, then we'll dive into that.
You can see this presentation?
Very well. Beautiful slide.
Okay. So this is a picture from Hunashala in Bhuj, which has been made with thatch, which has been done by women in their spare time, and bicycle yokes to form the space truss. These are bicycle yokes, old bicycles with waist yokes, which have a bolt in each corner. So, well, now the question is, architecture is, what is architecture? Architecture is the organization of space. And here is a slide from Niramika at the entrance, which basically defined the way that the school worked. This particular place has 300 species of, over 300 species of various plants and fish. And this was designed as a complete ecosystem by a landscape architect who now lives in Goa. And well, it was something that greeted the children as soon as they walked in. And now the other point about this slide is that most people in Europe would not consider this a space at all, because it's open to sky and it can take rain. But in tropical areas, of course, we can consider this completely open. And anyway, conventional architecture consisted of safe and code compliant work, which was value for money. Here is safety. Just a minute. Can I have a look at this? Can I vanish this? नहीं, escape करके. Okay. So safety is an interesting thing. When I designed this truss, 12 trusses meeting at the center of a meditation hall in the Gnostic Center, which is a Sri Aurobindo center near Delhi. I designed it completely by using a booklet which is published by the Forest Research Institute. And frankly, it was symmetrical because I could not handle the non-symmetry. So all 12 trusses met at a peak. And this was nail jointed timber trusses. That means nails were put in alternating sequence, head first and tail first. And this became, this was recently, after 20 years, renovated. And the interesting thing is that with some bullies to hold up the roof, we managed to take down the truss and repair it and put it back up again. So it shows that, like in Chitra's case, nothing got wasted. It was completely used. Something similar happened in the Shanghai Pavilion that we did for the World Expo in 2010. And here we made the world's largest bamboo dome at that time, complete with herbs and medicinal plants on the roof. Here, you can see my cursor, no?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, everything here that you see is not bedded in cement. For example, this flooring pattern is on sand. And this canvas roof could be taken away. And in fact, the bamboo dome also could be taken away, and it was. But what happened was, interestingly, that there was a Babuji in ITPO who said that the tender says providing and demolition. So the demolition must take place. Even though there was a company called Angie which used to buy it, which offered to buy it, probably for the cost of which was more than the demolition cost. But anyway, so they said that, oh, it must be demolished because it's part of the tender. And sure enough, it was. So it was demolished, and it wasn't finally used in any way. We even had screw piles, which could be unscrewed, and for foundation, because we were stuck, what to do with foundation. So there is something called screw piles made of steel, and they could be sold as scrap steel afterwards. Now, value for money is illustrated in this factory in Noida, which basically I met the owner a few years ago, and he said, I asked him, how is his factory doing? And he said, oh, very well. We get the best embroiderers. And the reason he said that was that he has an air-conditioned factory. Air conditioning, but not to 24, but to 28 degrees. And the reason was that we found that he sets his temperatures to 16 degrees or 18 degrees in the showrooms, where even people who come from Scandinavia, they shiver in the cold. they, they wear heavy overcoats, while in the factory floor, it was not air conditioned at all. So what we said was that for the same cost of air conditioning, we will set the temperature of the showrooms to 24 and the factory floor to 28. So that was that. And well, he got the best embroiderers. Embroidery is a great skill in this area of garment manufacturing. You also see here the south facing fan lights and the reflective lights which threw light into the deepest part of the factory floor. So this was conventional architecture, safe and code compliant at value for money. And then in the oil embargo of 70s, early 70s, this led to a green movement, and lead and various other factors came in. And clearly there were two things which were serious about it, which was that it substituted fossil resources with renewable ones, and it was more efficient and got better value for reduced operations cost. Now, this is an example of how we managed to get better value. These are all from Manesar, which is a suburb near Delhi, 50 kilometers south of Gurgaon. And this is the Agilent building on top and bottom on the right. And this is the Spire Edge building in the same neighborhood on the left. This was designed by Kenyan, and this building, Agilent, clearly it was amazing. Actually, he designed it in the course of one long day, but he ensured that the back of it, which is south, this is the north elevation, of course. The back of it, which is south, did not have any amount of sunlight penetrating into the inner space. While this north elevation had a lot of glass, and indirect light could, of course, come in, and it would be lit, well lit. While this building, Agilent, in the same neighborhood, contained these signature walls, which were designed for just the right amount of light. Otherwise, the north and the south was completely shaded. This was an earlier building for the Terry retreat. It's called it's a facility with 30 odd rooms for trainees, IAS trainees typically. And this building was completed. I mean, Dr. Pachauri told me the challenge that it should be current even in 2030, which is right around the corner now. So I said, okay, which means that it must be autonomous. So there were 80 acres of forest around it, and using the droppings of the various trees, a gasifier plant was set up, and 30 kilowatts of energy was produced, which was enough for the whole facility. So 1 kilowatt per room, and the air conditioning was done with an unusual system called an earth air tunnel, 70 meters and 4 meters underground, 70 meters long. The air was sent in at an underground level, and then pushed up into these solar chimneys to ventilate the rooms. And this facility has never had temperatures beyond 30.8 degrees, which is a great achievement. Now, substitution can be of various kinds. You can substitute materials. So when we designed this Nanda Devi village, as it is called, for a builder who was a fairly standard kind of builder, we decided that since 2 trees were allowed per year, that we would take no more than 2 trees in order to make a house. Now, this particular house required 6 trees, so it required 3 years. Now, the amazing thing is that the owners now boast of the fact that it took 3 years to make this house. So it was amazing that initially we said that oh, it's a problem that it will take 3 years instead of just 2 years or something. But now they end up boasting about the fact that, oh, our house took 3 years to make, because that's the way it was. Well, substitution can be of various materials also. And this is the bamboo dome from inside. You see the 40 trusses beating at the middle. And this is, on the right is the TZ housing in Bangalore, in Whitefield. While, just a minute. Okay, I was unfamiliar. I thought there was another picture appearing on the top left, which is blank. So this project was used by IGBC as a test case for calibrating their platinum rating. It had interlocking earth blocks and mostly Silicon Valley returnees, and they were quite fond of it, and it's still being used even though it's now 20 years old. This was 3 examples of substitution also, where this upper left house was Heine Muller's house in Pokhara, Nepal, and it was right on the epicenter of the earthquake. So 23 kilometers off Pokhara on the what is it? East, I think. Yeah. And this withstood the earthquake well because it had hidden inside some steel and a lot of wood. And this withstood the earthquake well. In fact, when the earthquake happened, I wrote to Heine and he replied after more than a week. And I was worrying, what happened, because I was almost certain that the house would have broken down. But he answered, he said he was traveling and his wife, was in the house. And now she is completely assured that it will definitely stand for another 100 years. So that was a good story. Anyway, on the bottom left, you see Matighar, which was the compressed soil block building, which we did in on the Central Vista. And on the right, you see something designed by Gernot Winke, the Pope of mud architecture in Germany. And he designed this completely with unstabilized soil blocks because he wanted not to change the color. And he designed this little bit of concrete is there. So there are some concrete beams and there are a lot of stone roofs. This was a 2-layered stone roof because Gernot wanted a certain ventilation system to be applied in this project. So this was the green aspect, and now there is sufficiency, which consists of 5 things. Sustainability, which I believe has not yet been addressed by either the LEED or GREHA systems. Sufficiency is one aspect, resilience is another aspect, equity is identity, and carbon neutrality. So sufficiency basically asks the question, how much is enough? Is it enough to want 20 or 18 degrees and 16 degrees and allow workers to sweater in the heat? Then resilience consists of whether any project can withstand any future shocks, such as heat waves or dust storms or excessive rain. Equity, on the other hand, consists of, does someone get excluded? Meaning, very often you have a situation where in five-star hotels, auto rickshaws are not allowed, right? And that's because there is a awkward snobbery about this being a tuch vehicle. And so essentially equity consists of taking everybody along and all aspects of society, all levels of society. Identity is the most difficult of these five. Identity consists of, is it ours? Does this belong? Is it ours or is it, does it belong to, say, Singapore or something? And carbon neutrality is a question of, does it emit anything? Here are examples from our work of all these five aspects. So sufficiency is best demonstrated in this set of ashram buildings in which there was once a British engineer, Peter Head, who came and stayed in my room, which is on the upper right. Oops, there, that one. That one is my room, which was my room for a year in 2012. Now, when Mr. Head came, he was unhappy with the fact that his five-star hotel did not have openable windows. So he said, I want to be able to feel the breeze, but I can't because I can't open my windows. They are sealed. So I said, okay, why don't you come here? But in the ashram, I ensured that he could at least do yoga and could use an Indian WC because that's what I had. So anyway, he stayed overnight and he was very happy with the place. And he said that you live in a 10 kilowatt hours per square meter per year building. So I said 10 kilowatt hours. For those who might know, an EPI of 140 is about the minimum for ASHRAE standards in per square meter per hour per year. 140 is good for ASHRAE, and 26 is the minimum for cooled buildings. Recently worked out by Delhi, and so on. So 10 was really small, and when I said this to the ashram management, you know what they said? Ooh, that's too much because it has to be zero, no? So I said, yes, it has to be zero, but we are getting there. 10 is fairly low, but now what's happening is that by switching such that you can only switch on 2 lights at a time, you can't switch on the toilet lights if the room lights are on, and vice versa, because they are on a two-way switch. We should be able to get there, and also the fan can become a smart fan, because with 5 watts you can manage quite a bit of breeze. So I stayed in this building for about a year. Sufficiency is also demonstrated by this fact, this diagram which was made for IIT Jodhpur, which we designed, which we did the master plan for. On the bottom, you see the water arrangement, water management, and you see the, can you read it? the solid waste disposal. So, but basically this diagram was the starting point of the whole exercise. It's a system dynamic diagram which traced the flow of energy through the system. It traced the flow of water in all the blue lines and traced the flow of food on the green lines. So, well, I leave you to read this in at leisure. Resilience comes in the form of water. Can you just press escape again? So resilience comes in the form of water-based stuff. For example, we made this 26-acre lake in Panna, which was made by 26 various check dams designed by our resident landscape architect Mohan Rao, who basically dammed various portions and created this huge water body where tigers now roam, and they come to drink the water and of course also eat the fowl, the fauna that exists, because they also come to drink the water. And now what happens is resilience is also demonstrated by this lower left diagram, which shows my lawn being laid before it was completed. So 16 inches below, I had put various perforated pipes and they irrigated the lawn at the roots of the grass. So the grass was always green. And whenever we bathed, there was, which you don't see here, on the upper right, kind of tank, which used to take all the grey water and recycle it automatically through a filter. And then it came into the pipes. This is also demonstrative of, in the Agilent building again, we saw that these salad vegetables would be served, which were grown using recycled grey water, were served at lunch in the cafeteria on top during the time that that lunchtime came around, and so on. Now, equity has various dimensions. Equity is of users first. We did Loklubish project, and here you see kind of puppet show which we used to break the ice with. And this story is about this headmaster who goes around listening, trying to find his missing putties. Putties are basically sandstone roofs which are used in Rajasthan to cover large slabs of, and they can be 10, 12 feet long also. 2 feet wide typically, 5 inches thick. Now, you see what happened was, this headmaster went to this Sarpanch's house and asked, have you seen my missing putties? And it's overheard by the woman who's his wife. She's actually stolen them. She's stolen them to repair her cowshed. So this was the story which we used to play very often. On the upper right, you see the ladies who would always make uh, what a ladies' toilet, a girls' toilet, whenever they made a model of a school. And I was wondering why is it necessary to have a girls' toilet? So they said, and I explained later, I understood later that this is because large number of women, girl children don't go to school because they have to hold their pee and they get urinary tract infection, which is pretty bad. So they wanted just a simple sandstone partition behind which the girls could pee. So that's it. But they wanted water in it as well, which was difficult to arrange in Rajasthan, but still. This is on the bottom right is our team, which created this building on the lower left, which was the Cluster Resource Center, which had the largest span in the district, 18 feet, and it was held up by arches. I don't have an interior view, but anyway. Equity can also consist of workers. You see, we don't realize that 40% of the money that we spend goes into in the pockets of various masons and helpers who make the building. And so this, when I designed my living room in the earlier house, uh, I designed it as a straight lean-to, and I was planning to plaster it with the microconcrete tiles. But my wife taunted me, saying that you are such a good dome mason. Why don't you teach a few dome masons how to make a shutterless dome? So I did. Redesigned this, and so this is a shutterless dome, which is held together with pieces of with self weight, as it were. And the last bit has to be done very quickly. It has to be just the last part. Now, recently I met Shabad, this person who was the mason who made this dome possible, and he said that he is very gainfully employed now, and he gets 1,000 rupees a day instead of 500 because he makes vaults and domes, which are both shutterless. He makes slip form vaults and shutterless domes, and that is his style of working. This, however, is the inside view of the factory. It can be confused that it is the users or the workers who work in the factory, and you see the what you call it, the grills which give you the air conditioned air, which set it at 28 inside. This equity consisted of, this can only happen in Gujarat. this is the three views of the Dharmshala headquarters. And in Bhuj, what happened was that after the earthquake, Dharmshala moved in and they rebuilt parts of Bhuj. But they decided to do it in materials which were very local. So they got various women to make prefabricated thatch, meaning they would string the thatch around um, a, a reaper or a lakdi or a stick, and then they would allow this thatch to be put on top like this. Now, what happened was, therefore, this is a similar view from the opening frame that I had. Now, what happened was that for a rupee or two, these women would earn some extra income, and this happens only in Gujarat, as I said. Now, identity is the most difficult aspect. It doesn't even necessarily belong here. Whether or not this can be considered an identifiable local response, I don't know. And I believe that it's only this. So let me put it this way. You've seen films like Devdi. You see, what happens is that this set of directors who grew up in independent India, probably born after 1947, have made the Banker Ghosh and so on, have made films like Devdi and Oye Lucky Lucky Oye. And these are truly our own, and they are our own stories, and they are stories which are very local. And this is something that we need to emulate, and I hope that this set of young architects who are now listening to this talk will create architecture which is truly our own. There is no way that Devdi or Oye Lucky Lucky Oye cannot be set in Delhi. It's completely set in Delhi. And this is a thatch hut, which this is a five-star hotel. It has, it's in Sundarbans. So you see all the local flora and fauna. This is identity of a different kind. This is my own house in Palm Vihar, which is an earlier house which is recently sold. And this was, it had a courtyard which you enter from here. It had light, it had wooden windows, but most importantly, it had solar shading. You see that even in the month of whatever it is, November, I think, the shadow doesn't really get cast on anything but the wall. And so the 4 square meters of glazing had complete sun, so much so that we lost the use of our warm jackets. Now, the front was, you see my daughter lolling around on her stomach. The front was had a tree which we retained, so much so that we designed the whole house to be behind. Lastly, here is this identity which was created for Mirambika, which is a slide which I showed first. This was, whether it is identity or not, I can't say, but I thought this was a highly Indian building, even though it uses RCC as a frame structure and so on, because this tree created all the difference. It's a people tree, and the moat around it was filled with water from time to time, and children would sit in with their feet wet and be told stories. Now, this is the mother symbol. I had some carbon neutral slides also, but it doesn't, this presentation doesn't have that. Because I feel that in order to be carbon neutral, one has to design with earth as a material. It's not just carbon neutral in operation, you have to be carbon neutral in the making of the building also. So it's okay to go with a lot of aluminium in the beginning, but so my own feeling is that this will be a different world where we will end up being sustainable by being carbon neutral. So that's it.
Thank you, Sanjay. I think there are a flurry of questions. I think I'll allow the mentees to first ask them and see if any college students after that have some, and reserve mine for later. But I think something, while you're answering their questions, something that kept coming up during both your presentations was the fact that working in this manner is takes time, takes effort, takes a lot of involvement.
Yes.
And I think what you generate out of this is what should be the motivation for young architects to walk or trot this path. Maybe you can kind of dwell on that. And I was delighted to see both, in both your presentations, the involvement of, the communities and people who are going to be using that space, or at least not even using that place, but maybe even engaging with it at times on the outside. And I loved, Chitra, your, the local language, drawing in the vernacular, because that's something that we've been taking. We've got colleges to start talking about it with students so that now they get sensitized and work on it. And I think with that, I'm going to ask different mentees. There are a lot of questions that are here. I know Chitra's team has been responding to it as and when, but it's still maybe good for them to turn on their videos and ask their question. And, in case, if they've already got their answers, well and good, but if they need any more substantiation, they can go ahead and ask their question. So in whichever order anybody, I saw Vishwanathan's first question, but it doesn't have to be. Anybody who wants to begin can set the ball rolling.
Yeah, let's see if there are other questions, Geeta, because I have to leave at 12:30. Sorry about this.
Right. Okay.
I can stretch it by 10 minutes. Yeah.
Right. So let's go beyond the ones that you've asked to start with, so that you can bring these back to Sanjay later in case Chitra leaves at 12:30. But maybe you can ask ones that have not been responded to by Chitra and team here. So, yeah, you want to go in a particular order. Vishwanathan, do you have anything since you started with the first question?
And if she has to leave at, I don't know if she has to leave at 12:30, but if she does, then Chitra, please go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I've
doing.
replied to most of the questions, Sanjay, the chat.
Yeah, I'm just asking all the mentees present here if you have any specific questions, particularly for Chitra. The ones for Sanjay can wait a little bit, maybe. Shreya, Bhagya, Srivarshini, Shruti. I'm just trying to remember all the names as we go. Viswanathan says unable to switch on mic. Team, please facilitate that at the earliest.
Yes, they can. They can.
Yeah. Viswanathan, you can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. My question is specific to drinking water. Yes. Um, because we've been facing clients where they are more specific towards commercial brands like 3M and any other Kent or any other commercially available brands. We want to know if there are traditional techniques that can be followed for drinking water as well, apart from because most of our projects that we've taken are outside corporation limits and there are no supply of municipal utility water.
Yeah. So what we do is that we calculate how much of drinking water is needed, depending upon how many people are staying in the house, and then on the you have to have the data of rainfall, and you have to have a roof which would be from where you collect, and accordingly make storage and use. There is no traditional thing here. This is mostly a lot of numbers, common sense and stuff. So now the water from below the ground, from our aquifers, have a lot of pollution in terms of mineral pollution, contamination, we should say. It could be mineral contamination because of the soil profile, or it could be also what you call it, organic contamination because of the sewage which is leaching out. So what we found is the best water is the rainwater, if it can be stored. And that's what in Kutch and in Rajasthan regions called Tanka was being done, and many places in Africa they collect the rainwater in their underground tanks. That's enough for drinking and cooking. You'll have to do the numbers, and you'll have to have roofs which will give you the best runoff. So it might be a concrete roof, but the roof has to be clean. And I'll tell you, because that's the kind of water we've been only drinking our rainwater for past 28 years in our house. And we use a very simple filter, which is through gravity filters. It's the old candle filter like thing, that's it. So there's no electricity use, nothing. So calculate, work with numbers, and it can be done. Rainwater is the best.
Something to add. My daughter is a water expert in Canada, of all places. And she recently came to India. And in Palam Vihar, she said that, "Arey, this is 300 ppm water. This is fine. It's drinkable." And she took it from the tap, and she only drinks water from the tap. While a lot of us drink water from RO systems and so on.
Yeah.
The fact is that he doesn't do that. And she's the water expert. And I'm surprised that she manages.
Yeah. I remember my uncle who was in Kanpur IIT had done studies of water in the railway station, Sanjay, and he said all of it were drinkable. But this is in fact a marketing ploy. I don't know your name, sorry, Insane Lab. It's a marketing ploy. And
Viswanathan Sridhar is.
Vishwanathan, they scare everybody. Oh, your child will have problems and stuff. So we have tested. So we have clients have gone and put RO, and then we have tested the water. Even the reject is as good as drinkable because it's Kaveri water which is coming in the city. But like yours is a specific thing which is where the utilities are not there, use the.
Shreya, you had a question concerning water again, I think, grey water calculation. You want to go on that?
Yeah, or
So
Kirtana.
before,
Yeah.
so before anybody goes, I will just ask a small question. In terms of getting clients convinced to what we want to do in terms of storage or traditional filters, uh, for practices like ours, we do all of these for the first time, and the very first question that we get asked is, "Have you done it before? Can we see it?" and all of that. How do we tackle this
Yeah,
when?
yes, Vishwanath, and science has to be your friend. Okay, not myth, mythology, not saying traditionally it is done, vernacular it is done. Take the water samples, get it tested in the local labs. There will be labs. I don't know where you're from, but if like Coimbatore and other places have these labs, get them tested, show them, and test it for WHO standards, 33 standards, all the minerals, all the E. coli, everything is tested. Go with science. And not I'm doing traditional, I'm doing vernacular. Okay. That's
Strongly.
Okay, sure.
Uh,
Yes, Bhagya.
yeah. I just wanted to know in terms of thumb rule calculations, how can we effectively calculate per user grey water generation? Just to give an idea in a project, like when impromptu client asks, like how do we design systems around it? Especially I'm asking in the context of mid to large scale projects. I mean, just to give an idea, I know there are certain tools and
Yeah.
calculations done, but in terms of like as a basic idea, basic
Is it
calculation.
all there in the NBC?
Yeah.
There is water usage per person in terms of if it's a hostel, if it's a hospital, if it's a house. And I'm sure Sanjay knows even more than that, but it's all there, it's all available. You'll have to read there.
LBC. And what I do is I divide it by 86 by 135. I multiply it by 86 by 135 because recently an NBC commissioned study generated that the actual water available and which most of our cities use is 86 liters per capita a day and not 135, which is simply called from Western manuals.
Western numbers, they go, but there are places where it depends upon where we are, Sanjay. Some of the apartments go up to 250, but between 86 and 135, but NBC has all these numbers.
Thanks.
And Biome Trust has put this up. It has what do you call free software? Something it's called something. It's in urban waters. So just look at Biome Trust, urban waters. So you have the software where you can then put all your data and get numbers.
Okay, okay, that's great.
I keep forgetting this bit, but
I think I have seen that on the Biome portal, and also I really like the fact that you people have checked I mean workers who are working on this water related stuff, and you listed the contractors. So we have contacted quite a
yes.
Yes. And follow up to that, I have one small question. Like, how do we kind of like upskill on the site, like 10 to 15 days, so that we have some kind of upskilling for the workers, as well as we can use that upskilling for the project specific to certain, like, if there is any specific condition on site.
You have to be skilled. Okay, you have to be there at site and do it.
Okay.
How much of construction do you know? Because if you are not there, neither of us were born with a mason who knew how to construct, okay? So we have to be doing it at site. You have to spend the time, and that's the only way. Because as architects, we look at it differently than business as usual.
Yes, yes, yes.
So you have to be at the site and do it. And then you have to do the whole time study. So how much time does it take? Okay. And how much material was used? So you have to learn to calculate rate analysis and stuff. That's the best way. That's the only way you can answer somebody.
Okay, okay, yeah. Thanks, ma'am.
One thing that came to mind when you were speaking is how large-hearted people in this space are, because putting out that vendor list, sharing completely, because you're looking at the larger cause and not really the immediate cause of just making your practice sustainable. So that's something that all of us together can make happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have somebody, Samatha, asking what happens to the bore water and water having salts and metals like uranium. See, get it tested. There are parameters which tell you how much is really bad. And still, I think universally, try and collect the rainwater and use it for drinking. For all the other purposes, you can use any kind of water.
Noted. I think that's a good suggestion. And next question, would any of the other mentees, Siddesh, Shruti, would you like to ask your questions? Because we have another one from Studio 369. Just wanted to be sure that your queries are also responded to.
Yes.
Yes.
The construction related question, I think I also love the language Chitra ma'am has used. It's just lovely. It reaches very quickly. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
One question from my end. So we don't test water before using it for curing and construction purposes. For example, like while curing oxide, we don't test the water, and later we find some strains on oxide. So is it necessary that we test the water before doing curing for the building also?
Yes. Yeah. If you're going to use oxide, please test the water. And then you decide whether you should use oxides. Because you need almost drinking water, so you're not going to drink Bisleri water, mineral water.
Right.
So
yeah, that becomes a...
This is all, what I say is that decide with what resources you have. Don't go in for, I'll make a dome, but I don't have the labor. Yeah,
Yes.
because those people have different skill sets. Work with them and slowly develop. But we tend to, and I think we all architects have this aspiration, and we tend to overreach, and that becomes difficult. So I would say, go slowly but steadily.
Yes.
But do good design. Design would give you better answers. Because if the design is bad, whatever you've done in the construction, whether oxides or domes, the building will not function. It will not have light, ventilation, it will not have the feel. Okay? So we tend to, in such situations, we tend to get very attached to the way we build. And many a times we have seen the designs are quite pedestrian. And that should not happen. So just because we're doing ecological, sustainable, I think design cannot be sacrificed.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. That's your curfew time, Chitra. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Being with us. Yeah, the others can just hang around in case there is a question that you can deal with. If one of them can be around, it'll be great.
Oh, these are all interns.
Okay. So
they will be just around. Okay?
Listening. All right. Right. Thanks so much, Chitra. Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
All yours, Sanjay, the rest of the questions.
So, Shruti, Gaurav, do you have any questions you'd like to shoot out? Okay, we're not able to hear the two of you. If you have anything, please type them in the chat box and we'll come to you. There is one question from Kirtana from Studio Occur, where they're talking about construction related environmental impact. Kirtana, would you like to unmute and ask the question?
We can also ask the colleges and students if they want to type in any questions, which could also be taken. Yeah.
Some of them were taken in by Chitra right now.
I saw that. Yeah.
Hi, yes. So the question on behalf of my team is how can project timelines be optimized to reduce construction-related environmental impact, such as like emissions and resource wastage?
The tricky question because I mean various kinds of project management software exist to optimize project timelines. And what we do is that we employ a senior engineer always in the office who heads our PMC division. And this gives us an inroad into civil engineering and so on. So we did Matighar, the IGNCA building that you saw, in 164 days, which was quite amazing. But we did it with a lot of planning, and 164 days was very tight, but it was managed. But most importantly, it was managed because shutterless domes have a habit of simply staying up as soon as they're done. And they don't need a 30-day waiting period for setting.
Noted.
Thank you.
So there were some questions from Vishwanathan Sridhar about structural stability, aesthetics, how to rule out termites if one is using paper tubes, and how to work on details and joinery binding when creating building blocks or paper tubes again as a material. Would you like to discuss maybe the specific use of paper tubes that has come in twice in his question?
Paper tubes, I don't know. All I think that for termites, the Palam house that I showed was built in a high termite area. And yet I used mango wood, which is termite prone rather than termite resistant for the wooden shutters. However, the shutters move. And the chocolates were not made of mango wood, but they were made of stone. And to that extent, I think this house proved its worth because in the 15 years that it existed, it was not needed to be renovated even once. There was no termite infestation. And though my neighbor had 2 rounds of termite infestation in the same period, and he had to change all the doors and windows. So, my guess for paper tubes is only that as long as you make the shutters out of those and they move, and you have to be conscious that they move, I think you're okay. Because basically, termites don't stick on to anything which moves.
Noted. I think there were also a few questions about managing snakes on site, which I see on a DM to me, that what do you do when a site has a lot of animals that you would not want to enter into your property or premises? Then how is design a factor, or is there something external that one can do?
It is a factor because, for example, we had a site near Alwar where there were a lot of blue bulls, nilgai.
Hmm.
And what we did was we evaluated 6 or 7 types of boundary walls, complete with moats and you know level changes, and we would have ensured that, I mean, that project never came about, but we did evaluate that. There were, I think, 6 or 7 types of walls, boundary walls that we evaluated. And the problem was that blue bulls can jump.
Hmm.
They really jump high and they can come in. So we had to make the wall a lot taller than normal, meaning as long as 15 feet high with a moat, because that increases the amount that they have to jump.
Hmm. And anything specific for snakes? Is there a solution for them or?
The solution for snakes also, we had a project in Sri Lanka which was snake infested, and we sent out a request on the internet saying, is there herpetologists who can help us? And we had various responses. I think the most interesting one was this person from Thailand who said, "Oh, I know the kind of snakes there are. None of them are poisonous, but they can still create a problem for guests."
Hmm.
So he said that he would like to visit the site and cut those branches where the snakes could twirl around and then fall on the ground.
Hmm.
So that was one type of solution. Of course, the other kind of solution, which is normal, is a snake pit all around, which again, see, snakes cannot rise beyond about 2 feet or so. So if you make a 2 foot moat
Hmm.
or a windowsill, which is about that low, then you can get away with snake proofing.
Super. So I'm just bringing back one more question from Siddesh Korambekar. He says, how can we make the whole process efficient when it comes to involving local labor who might be inexperienced about the specific construction processes? And
To teach them, nothing to do but to teach them. And this is not easy to do, but we had a project in Chichpalli, where we taught the local workers how to make rammed earth walls. And that was the only way that we could manage reasonable efficiency. We managed the whole project in 164, not in 164 days, but in 365 days. And that worked out well.
right. I think what you're trying to say is that the benefit of training a worker, although in the initial stages it may take some time to train them, the benefit is reaped during the construction process, which will happen really smooth and will kind of, return in on the time invested.
Correct. But more than that, I think the income of that worker goes up
Hmm.
if we can monetize it.
Hmm.
And that helps. So the Shabbat example that I gave during my talk was that the income of the mason went up to twice as much as what a normal mason gets, simply because he became an expert at making vaults and shutterless domes.
Super. It's a win-win for all. There are Pallavi ma'am is asking a question about urbanites and them finding mosquitoes a menace. So how can we effectively design openings is clear, you can add the mosquito nets and other things, but open courtyards, ventilation units, how do we keep them out to ensure that the user experiences the spaces without any bites?
I don't know the answer. So I guess one should not design them in places which have lots of mosquitoes. And since I live in a high mosquito area now, I guess I would not design open courtyards. In fact, my house doesn't have an open courtyard for now, which it had earlier, which was a lower mosquito area. We used to get occasional mosquitoes here and there, but not too many, one or two, and that's it.
Yeah. Landscape wise also you could plant some citronella plants, I suppose, and
Yes,
that could
I guess so.
inhibit it, the use. Yeah.
So it has a smell of odomos
Yes.
and citronella and various other grasses can help in keeping the mosquito population low.
Noted. I think with this we'll come to the last question of the conversation. Srivarshini, would you like to unmute and ask the question directly?
Yes, sir. So the presentation was really good, and I really liked the bamboo truss work that was there. Just wanted to know how the trusses are connected in the top, because I saw a small gap and there was another element in the center. So was it like any steel member joining the bamboos together, or it was just bamboo designed
The
like
steel
that?
member, which was fabricated in China. There was
Okay.
a steel member. It is a ring beam of steel
Okay.
which had 40 prongs in it,
Uh,
which held the bamboo trusses together.
okay. 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 Okay,
Even
sir.
though Simon Velez of Colombia, who helped us with this project, he insisted that they were not required. He could manage to make this out of bamboo. We found that it was much more efficient and faster to make it out of steel in China, and therefore it is in China.
Ye- Yes, so that brings me to the next question. When such situations come that we understand that the steel or concrete will bring some reduction of cost or maybe time, to which again the cost will decrease, is it okay to go ahead with these materials and not choose to stick to the materials that we use usually, like bamboo or mud or such?
Bamboo mud is not given. I would think that you should occasionally use these, but these are valuable materials, huh?
Right.
So you have to realize that there is a value that you get out of these materials, and you have to appreciate that. And concrete, especially, is a valuable material. So it's nice to be able to use it sparingly and only when absolutely required.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think with this,
Thank you
we've
so
come to
much.
the end of today's session. And I sincerely thank all our esteemed speakers for walking us through the complexities of sustainability and presenting these very actionable solutions, even and demonstrating them through the conversations as well as the work that you've done. And it kind of shows that even the smallest of changes can lead to significant result. So a big heartfelt thank you to you from us as well as the Emphasis F1 Foundation for them for supporting us in this wonderful cause and believing in the collective power that ethos vouches for. Our mentorship sessions have now kick-started, and this was just the launch. Like you saw through Geeta's presentation, that we have an array of lectures, seminars, and interactions planned for the mentees, as well as some segments which are open for all. So this Saturday, we are going to run in a session on rating systems. And we'll be sharing the details on all our WhatsApp groups and in our community and circle as well. And we invite all of you to be a part of them.
Incidentally, we don't have a rated building in our armory.
Right. Uh, so that's also one direction or one way in which you could look at it. So we have a presentation by GBCI. We have a segment on where they're talking about approaching design, but not to tick in the check boxes, or not only for ticking in the check boxes of rating systems, but also looking at it from a purely design perspective. And then we will be having Tanuja Kanvande talking about one of their projects, the IIT Kanpur building, and explaining the design process of it. Of course, the decision to whether go to the rating systems or not is a decision that the architects themselves and the practices themselves would take. So we'll be sharing more updates about this regularly on our social media platforms. So do stay connected. And a big special thanks to all the colleges that have partnered with us and have stayed with us in the last almost 2.5 hours for this session. Amity School of Architecture and Planning, Lucknow; Andhra University, Visakhapatnam; BMS School of Architecture, Yelahanka, Bangalore; CSI Institute of Technology, Hyderabad; McGann's Ooty School of Architecture; MES College of Architecture, Kerala; Pillu Modi College of Architecture, Cuttack; the Royal School of Architecture from Guwahati; Savita College of Architecture and Design in Tamil Nadu; Thakur School of Architecture and Planning from Mumbai; Vellore Institute of Technology; Gyani Zail Singh School of Architecture and Planning from Bhatinda. And of course, a sincere thanks and appreciation to our entire Ethos Foundation team for the dedication and passion in making this event possible. So as a wrap up, we look forward to seeing all of you again in this week, this month, and this campaign towards sustainability that we call Saath, where we hope to be Saath and together.
All the best.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
To the mentees, especially.
Yes.
They will need it.
And thank you for joining us, Professor Sanjay Prakash. It means a lot to have your wisdom and your mentorship for them.
Okay. I'm leaving the meeting now.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.